Good morning. So it's 11:15 a.m. I didn't make it. I actually beat my time last year. Last year at 5 a.m. I just fell asleep in a chair. And then obviously sleeping in that chair was uncomfortable. So I just happened to post my final update at 8 a.m. because I was getting up from a chair that I was sleeping in to go to the bed, and I was like, "I did it," kind of, but I didn't. My body shuts down at, like, hour 21, and, I felt, like, mentally pretty good, and, but the problem was, I ran out of things to listen to because I couldn't do Priory of the Orange Tree anymore, and so, it was cute, though. My mom called me at, like, 2 a.m., and she was like, "Just checking in." She 3 hours behind, though, so for her, that was a little easier to do. Um, but yeah, she called me at 2 a.m. and we chatted for or like 2:30 and we chatted for like a half an hour. And then I was like, "Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And then it took me a half an hour to find something to read and then or listen to. And so then I was like, "Oh, I know. Agatha Christie is great." And she is, but so I started listening to The Murder at the Vicarage, and I just at some point I was like, "I don't think I know what's happening. I don't think I'm listening." I started like I was, doing my cross stitch, which I got to part of the leaf. I mean, it's hard to see, but there's a little bit of the leaf right there, and so I started getting to the leaf, and I was so excited, but then I was, kinda, like, nodding off at my seat, so I just decided to go to bed. Um, I will say I was kind of looking at the time, and I understand why people do 24 and 48 a little bit more each year because with all the stuff going on in a day, it's almost impossible to actually read for 24 hours. So, I read a physical book for about 2.5 hours. I listened to audiobooks for 10 hours and 45 minutes. I did take a little snooze nap for 12 minutes and 57 seconds. And then, this was also funny, like, at the end, right before I went to bed, I was listening to my audiobook. I thought I had the audiobook timer going, but when I started to shut everything down to go to bed, I realized that I had the social media timer going. So there might be like 30 minutes that is technically not social media and is actually audiobook, but we can just count doing this as part of social media time, I guess. But so I spent like 3.5 hours doing social media and roughly like it's all an estimate because it's like how quickly am I hitting the timers? You know what I mean? But adding all of this up is about 17 of the 24 hours. Wait, 3 plus 10 plus 2 is 15 plus. So that's like an hour, 16. Yeah. So it's about 17 hours of readathon. And then I slept for like 2.5, 3. So that gets us to the 20-hour mark. So there's 4 hours where I just wasn't doing anything. Like, what was I doing? I don't have like a breaks timer. So I think I was just like taking breaks. Like, okay, I talked to my mom twice yesterday for half an hour each. I talked to my husband on the phone, even though he was just on the other side of the house. But we talked for half an hour, and we talked for a little bit when he got home from work, and so that's okay, that's 2 hours right there, and then, prepping food, bathroom breaks, coffee, just, like, looking out the window, admiring the nice day, that kind of stuff. Um, I guess that can account for 4 hours. So, the phone calls is definitely 2, so I think doing 24 and 48 might almost actually be harder because if you're gonna do this until you actually read books for 24 hours, like, don't not including social media, not including breaks, and, you know, just it's not about staying awake for 24 hours, it's about actually reading for 24 hours. I actually think that would be really hard to squeeze into a weekend. Well, I don't know. My brain is like, "Well, you no, 17 hours, so take away the 3.5 that you spent on social media." 14 hours, yeah, I would have 10 hours left, so I'd have to do 10 hours of reading today, and I really pushed it yesterday. Yeah, but that'd be exhausting. I kudos to the people doing 24 and 48 because I think it might actually be, like, harder. Do you count social media? I'm really curious about that, like, is it just I'm reading for 2 12-hour stints? That's not 24, yeah, it is. So clearly I'm still a little tired, still a little tired. The other thing I figured is I'm giving myself a break because I am actually have to get ready and put on real clothes because I'm like actually doing another reading thing today by doing silent book club. So I'm like, okay, well, that counts. I mean, it doesn't, but it does. I like pushing myself to do the 24-hour challenge because I just think it's fun. I think it's like, to me, it is equivalent to somebody running a half marathon or something. It's like, it's you're challenging yourself. But when I hit that 24 or 21-hour mark, my body is like, "Hey, listen, if you don't shut down, we will." So, and also I can't even describe it because, like, one of my friends on Facebook was like, "Do you get a trophy?" And I was like, obviously, I think she was just jagging around, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, "I wish we got a trophy," but mine also, I wouldn't get one because I tapped out. I tapped out. But that's okay. It was still really fun. I love the multi-timer thing. I don't know that I would add more timers. Maybe I would just add one for breaks because then I could actually see the slippage of, like, data analyst, I need all the data, right? I'm curious about the slippage of hitting timers, right? Like, how much does that account for? 15 minutes? 5 minutes? Like, how good am I at, like, hitting these timers? But it was really fun. Um, oh, yeah, that would be fun, making a trophy for myself. I should have a little, like, it's just like a trip. I can have my husband, like, present it to me. Or I could just reward myself with Mexican food because I do love Mexican food. I should get a reward for this. That's you know what too? Barnes& and Noble sent out an email yesterday. They were like, "Hey, it's like their membership anniversary," and they were like triple stamps, and I was like, I was like, "Is that my reward?" But I don't need more books because that's why I have all these wrapped ones. I have to get through my physical TBR. I mean, I will buy more books, but I didn't do my final photo challenge, so I do still think I'll throw that out there. I was kind of doing the hourly photo challenge in chunks, just so that I wasn't like blowing up people's feeds, but I'm sure I was anyway. But it's fun to try to do the photo challenge. I'm not so good at the bingo challenge. Um, I don't want, like, the challenges to take up more mental energy than, like, just staying up and reading, so I chose to do the photo one because I feel like it's, like, easy enough to kind of interpret and do the way you want to. But maybe I'll try one of the bingos. There were, like, 5 bingo challenges, so maybe I'll try one of those next year. And I know they have more readathons later in the year, but April just seems to be a nice sweet spot where I can carve out the time, and there's not so much going on, and I can actually, like, do this. When it gets later in the year, I just seem to get busier and busier in the summer, in October, especially. I want to go do witchy things. Um, but yeah, so it was really fun readathon. I felt a little ill prepared because I thought it was the end of April and it ended up being this weekend and I only found out like at the beginning of the week. And I know that Casey was my husband was like, "What do you prepare for it?" And I was like, well, last year I had a spreadsheet and I just kind of felt ill prepared, but he went with me to the grocery store and grabbed some snacks and it was great. It ended up being a really good readathon and I had fun and I got more out of Priory of the Orange Tree than I thought. So, hey, fingers crossed that I won't be weather permitting. That's for you, Aubrey. Weather permitting, I won't be reading Priory of the Orange Tree next year. No promises. Anywho, I hope everybody had a good readathon. I hope y'all had fun. Um, if you stayed awake, kudos. If you're doing 24 and 48, kudos. If you're doing whatever you're doing, just kudos. It was a really fun weekend, and I love hanging out with all of you on Discord. And so I will see you next year, or maybe at the next one if I can carve out the time. We'll see. Anyway, have a good one. Have a good weekend. Have a good Sunday if you're still reading. Talk to you later. Bye.